Well, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be in Chapter 4. Now, what we're looking at today in Chapter 4 specifically is the idea of decision making. Think about the last time you've had to make a decision. What were the considerations that you had to make? Was it an easy decision or a hard decision? Easy decisions, they don't take a whole lot to invest in when you're making them. However, with difficult decisions or decisions that need to be made and you've never had to deal with the issue before, that takes a little bit more effort. And that's what we're going to talk about today when it comes to research and making decisions. Well, welcome back, everybody. And today we're in Chapter 4. We're moving right along in our study of research and business research. So today we're going to look at an overview of the business research process, and really at the heart of all of this, we're going to be taking a look at making decisions and how we make decisions and the type of decisions that we make as business leaders. Now, at the beginning of this chapter, we see a little profile on Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard, as you know, is in the computer industry. They make computers, they make printers. They are heavily leveraged in technology and the technology industry. Now, in order for companies like HP to exist, not just thrive, but just to be able to exist, they have to be on the forefront of innovation. They have to have the latest products out there that are going to really answer and entice the customer and their needs. And in order to do that, they have to do a lot of research. They have to do a lot of market analysis, sales analysis, and so forth. And as you see here, HP, in its efforts to do that, retained a company called Hoover's, and they are pivotal in the customer relationship management strategy that they have. They do that research for them. Now, folks, when you get to research in businesses, as we said earlier in this course, there are very few businesses out there who are not engaged in research. Most every company out there is doing some type of research. HP has to do it, and most companies have to do it. Now, other companies may not be as leveraged in or using research as much, but I can promise you that most companies that are successful today are not just flying by the seat of their pants. They are continually doing research on what the market is demanding, what customers are wanting, and they're responding to that. Now, key ways, as your slide suggests, key ways in which researchers contribute to decision making. How can you, as a business researcher, help the company? Well, you help better define the current situation. A lot of times, and we saw earlier too in the decision-making process, you have to define the problem. You have to know what's going on. Or if you are seeking opportunities, well, what is it that you're wanting to gain? So research can help discipline you to look at what is going on objectively and identify that and go from there. And then defining the firm. And that's determining how consumers, competitors, and employees view the firm. So it's not enough just to have your own identity. How do other people, how do other entities view you? Providing ideas for enhancing current business practices. And that's part of what we call continuous improvement, where we are looking at ways of doing better, being more efficient and effective, and identifying new strategic directions. Hewlett-Packard, at the beginning, didn't just have computers and printers. They started off with one and then branched into other areas, and that's a strategic direction. Testing ideas that will assist in implementing business strategies for the firm. So it's not just enough to have an idea. research will test those ideas to see if it's going to be a viable option for the company, and then examine how correct a certain business theory is in a given situation. How do you know that the direction that you're going in is the correct direction? Well, research helps you examine that. Now, there are some decision-making terms. You have business opportunity, and that's just a situation that makes some potential competitive advantage possible. Business opportunity may be going global. That's been an option for many companies here over the past couple of decades, where you already have an operation established, but there may be opportunities overseas. So that would be a business opportunity. A business problem: this is some negative consequence that is jeopardizing your company or your company's effectiveness. So any and everything that could jeopardize or interfere with you taking advantage of an opportunity would be a problem. And then symptoms. What are the signs or the signals that something is wrong? And a lot of times when we look at this, we kind of have to be like doctors. We have to diagnose, we have to take a look at what's going on, and then we have to give some type of assessment or diagnosis of what's going on, and business research will do that and help you to provide the right diagnosis and prescribe the best remedy. Now, decision making. Well, the definition is the process of developing and deciding among alternatives in resolving a problem or choosing from among alternative opportunities. Now, there are two types of decision making. There are programmed and non-programmed decision making scenarios, and we'll go into that later on, but it's enough to know that a programmed decision is a decision that you make without having to really put a lot of thought in it, because the protocol or the steps involved have already been determined. Let's say you are in charge of ordering supplies every quarter, and the instructions for ordering those supplies have been given to you, so all you have to do is just read the instructions. That's a programmed decision. A non-programmed decision is something that comes up that you're not prepared for. You don't have any direction or any type of decision protocol to make in that, so you have to incorporate the decision-making steps that are involved in that type of environment. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But researchers' role in the decision-making process is to recognize the nature of the problem or the opportunity, to identify how much information is currently available and how reliable it is, and determining what information is needed to better deal with the situation. Your job as a researcher is to provide the decision makers with the best quality information that they can have to make decisions. You may not be a decision maker, but you will be called upon to help in the decision-making process if you are in management. That just goes along with it. And the better quality information you provide, the better off the ones above us will be to be able to make good decisions. Now, there are conditions affecting decision-making. Not every decision is easy, and it's a lot of times not every decision is made in a perfect circumstance. First of all, you have a degree of certainty, and that's the decision maker has all the information needed to make an optimal decision. And I can tell you, as a business leader, as a pastor, you don't have all the information a lot of times that you need to make an optimal decision. Oftentimes, you just do the best with what you've got. Uncertainty. The manager grasps the general nature of desired objectives, but the information about alternatives is incomplete. You may not have, as we said, all the information that you need. You may not have conclusive support or conclusive alternatives that you know, if I choose this, this is going to be the outcome. And ambiguity. That's the nature of the problem itself, as being unclear, so that objectives are vague and decision alternatives are difficult to define. This is a hard predicament to be in. Now, ambiguity, if you want an example of where and how that can come into play, ambiguity takes place a lot of times with these new industries that are innovative and creative. Let's say Microsoft or Google or HP. They are making decisions in an industry that is continually changing. So you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't know what's going to be successful and what's not going to be successful. So you have to do the best with all that you have. And a lot of times that's not a whole lot. But you have to make decisions with a certain degree of ambiguity in these types of fields so that you can glean or you could garner the market. If you're the first one out there with the newest product, let's say for instance the Apple Watch. Think about how much money Apple made with just a watch, and they didn't know if people would want that, but they did enough research to gauge pretty much whether or not the people would be receptive to it. And they were. Not everybody has one, but they did quite well. And now there are knockoffs of the Apple Watch. Those are people who come along behind after they see that the product is going to be successful. Then they make it at a cheaper price and sell it. But Apple got the lion's share of the revenue because they were the first ones to market with this product. It was innovative and new. And that's what a lot of companies in this type of industry seek. They want to get the most popular product out, the quickest, be the first one out, but they do take a lot of risks because they are uncertain a lot of times as to how people are going to receive them. Exhibit 4.1 is just a diagram of the decision-making situations. I'll let you guys take a look at that. You have the opportunity, ambiguity, certainty, problem, uncertainty. So just take a look at that and we'll move on. Now there are types of business research. Now let's take a look at that before we close out today. Exploratory research. Here you're just trying to discover things. You want to clarify ambiguous situations or maybe discover new ideas that may be potential business opportunities. You're exploring. Again, Apple did that when they were looking at producing the Apple Watch. They might have sent out questionnaires, or they might have looked at trends that people were getting into to decide upon offering something like that. The initial research conducted to clarify and define the nature of a problem. So you can use it to take advantage of an opportunity, or you can probe and find out what's happening here when you have a problem. Let's find out what's going on. Let's say, for instance, your car doesn't start. Well, you're going to do exploratory research to try to find out why. You're going to look at the gas gauge. Does it have gas? You're going to take a look at maybe the meter that determines if it has some electricity going through it, and so forth. But when you are looking at opportunities or when you're trying to define a problem, that's when you would use exploratory research. Descriptive research. Descriptive research really just describes what is. It describes the characteristics of objects, people, groups. It looks at the who, what, when, where, and why of questions. It doesn't provide direct evidence of causality. It just describes what's going on. It gives considerable understanding of the nature of the problem or that it exists, but here you're just describing the characteristics of what's going on. We had a 30% decrease in sales, so that would be a description of what's happening. Diagnostic analysis that seeks to diagnose reasons for market outcomes and focuses specifically on the beliefs and feelings consumers have about and toward competing products, as you see here. So diagnostic would be after I found out and described the problem, which is the 30% decrease in sales of Apple Watches, let's say. Then I want to diagnose reasons for that market outcome. And then I want to find out, especially if it's a consumer issue, what the consumers feel about that, and go from there in maybe going deeper or providing more effort to rectify or remedy the problem. And this is just an example. You can read that about the golfer, Greg Norman, who has also a wine distillery or whatever in California. Well, today we learned that decisions involve a process. It's not just a matter of guesswork or asking people your opinion and then whatever sounds good, you go with it. Decisions involve problem solving, and problem solving is a systematic process of steps that you have to engage in. And hopefully, as a researcher, you will hone in your skills when it comes to decision making so that you can make the vital decisions that are going to be necessary for your ministry and for your organization. Well, that's all we have for today. We'll see you tomorrow.